Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline Live in the BP TV studios. Thanks for watching our show. Got a great show for you. I got bad news with Smoking Jim Frazier. He's in the hospital for an undisclosed reason. I can only guess. I'm not going to. He might have some health issues. Hopefully they'll take care of it. But he's been in there since Sunday when he gave me a text message. I messaged him back. He said he wouldn't be able to be at the show on Tuesday, so that was 2 days ago. So hopefully they're giving him some tests and they'll get him back out and he'll be back out and about. But I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We've got Chip Hayner here. He's back this week. He missed last week. I don't know what these guys are doing. They got a tag team here. One week I get one, and then I get the other.
I had to work for a living, you know.
I understand.
Gotta pay the bills one way or another.
Well, glad to have you here. Want to thank Olive Oil's Pizzeria for the great pizza. They sponsor our show and the steak hoagie, so appreciate to have that. Got a couple promos here to show. One's the Bethel Park Historical Society, the Schoolhouse Art and History Center. So check that out on South Park Road there. You can see it. You can donate $1 to them at least. A great foundation there. Check that out. Another charitable organization is the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. Poor Joey didn't make it to his 9th birthday. There's a photo of him before DIPG and after DIPG. It's a terrible brain cancer. You can go there, donate as little as $1. They have an event coming up. Night at the Races at the Community Center, May 12th. Check it out. You have to see it. There's some signs around there. You can get a horse, $10 for a horse, 10 horses in a race. You could win $40. All the money goes. It's a charitable organization. You can write it off, 501c3. You can check that out. Then BP Community Foundation. I'm on the trustee board. You can get grants. They have grants from $100 to $5,000 for different groups in Bethel Park and the good they're doing there and organizations. Check it out, bpcf.org. Go get an application there and sign up. And the last but not least, Dave Cable did this in fun. Put me up there as Uncle Al wants you for BP TV. We got Devin Shea and Ethan in the control room. You could be our next Devin Shea and Ethan in the control room running cameras and running these shows behind the scenes. So check it out. That's some of the information I have. And we start our show off with What's on Your Mind. No Smoking Jim Frazier. We're going to go right to Chip Hayner. What's on your mind?
Oh, thank you, Alan. And what's on my mind this week? Great time to be a sports fan in the city of Pittsburgh. We got the Penguins who've moved on to round 2.
Yeah.
Penguins and the Capitals. And you would think that they would try to do something to the NHL would change the playoff format to a degree. They have the 2 best teams in hockey playing in the second round of the playoffs. That's
they did change it to make it this way.
well, it would be better.
Which isn't good.
I would much rather see them play in the Eastern Conference Finals, but that would be much more devastating for the Capitals. But the Capitals don't have a very strong track record against the Penguin in the playoffs. We've met each other 9 times in playoff series. We're 8-1. So going into this series, now Washington did win the President's Trophy Cup this year. They won the President's Trophy Cup last year. We knocked them out in the second round. I think we might be seeing that happen again. So that's what my bold prediction is. I'm not going to tell you how many games. I'll let that sit and stew for a while. But the Pirates have had what you would call, to this point, the roller coaster of a season. We either sweep or we get swept. And last night was a pretty tough game to watch, losing 14-3. Kind of takes me back to the 2010 season. And looking at the way they're playing defense, it's kind of reminiscent of that. These are big league ball players. They need to start playing like big league ball players instead of little league players. So, we'll get more into the Pirates, as we move on. The NBA playoffs are in full effect. Or some teams have already won their first round series, but I believe there's 5 first round series that have the potential to go 7 games. But, for those of us that watch the NBA. But it's a great time to be a sports fan. I'm loving it. That's all I've got.
All right, Chip. Thank you. We'll talk more about Buccos later on in the show. Appreciate that. We won't have Smoking Jim's opinions, even though he's an NFL scout. He does have his opinions on the Buccos. We'll wait till next week, hopefully, and find out some more. Let me think. What's on my mind? A bunch of stuff. I was thinking about Marte the other day. Then I was thinking, I'm going to stay positive. The Penguins are in the playoffs. I predicted that they'd win back-to-back. It's been tough. They got so many injuries. They've overcome these injuries with a lot of guys from Wilkes-Barre, which it's amazing with the guys that we have filling in, playing the game, from Russ to Cole to Schultz, you name it. Kunitz may be back. Who knows? But
Kunitz may be playing in the Washington series. So that's
well, it's starting Thursday. The first game will be Thursday,
right.
And I wish him well. Can't wait for the excitement of that. With the Buccos, they did win a series against the Yankees that wasn't a sweep, so that gave me some hope. But then yesterday, we'll talk about that a little later.
We'll talk about that a little
later.
That
changed my little hopeful situation. And since Smoking Jim Frazier is missing his favorite players on the DL list, guess what his name is? Adam Frazier. He's got hammy trouble. He's on the 10-day DL. We'll give updates on that. We can't afford to lose a good hitter since our average is only 231.
And Smoking Jim, we miss you dearly, my friend. And I sent the measurements to Abdullah, the tent maker. We're going to get you a Frazier jersey. But I have to make sure that it fits.
Omar, the tent maker, still in business. I did find out. We'll have to check that out. So we'll get further information to tease you on that. And we got Devin's going to take us to a commercial, and we'll be back with Chip's Trivia Time. So see you in a minute or so. Don't change that dial, Chief. Get your dessert. And Jimmy Mack, hope you're watching us on Verizon 32.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. And we've got a little extra time this week, being that my dear friend Jim is under the weather, and we wish him speedy recovery. We miss you, Jim. Got a couple of things on my trivia list for this week. I always got to throw some baseball trivia in.
Sure.
I'm going to start with April 24th, 1901.
You're going way back.
I'm going way back to the dead ball era. Chicago defeated Cleveland 8-2 in the first American League game ever played. 3 other scheduled games were rained out. The game lasted 1 hour and 30 minutes in front of a reported crowd of 14,000 at the Chicago Cricket Club.
Whoa.
I would love to see a 1 hour and 30-minute baseball game. I was there Friday night, and it was 3 hours and 20 minutes, and Rob Manfred, you got to do a little bit better at speeding up these games.
Yeah.
I think 2.5 to 3 hours, you'd keep people's interest a little bit more, but
that would be nice.
Well, a work in progress, right? 1911, April 24th, Battle Creek of the South Michigan League turned 2 triple plays in the first 2 innings against Grand Rapids.
Wow.
I have actually been to a game where I witnessed a triple play. It's kind of interesting. I think it was a 5-3-5 triple play, and it was the first time it was ever turned in Major League history.
Wow.
That was at PNC Park last year. All right, 1947, Johnny Mize of the New York Giants hit 3 consecutive homers in a 14-5 loss in Boston. It was a Major League record 5th time in his career that Mize hit 3 home runs in one game.
That's amazing.
That's an amazing feat. 1962, Sandy Koufax struck out 18 Chicago Cubs, which at that time was a record, which has since been broken by one Roger the Rocket Clemens, who struck out 20. in 1986, I believe. Also in 1965, Casey Stengel recorded his 3,000th victory as a manager as the Mets beat the San Francisco Giants. And
Wow.
Casey Stengel, after a successful run as the manager of the Yankees, when the New York Metropolitans became into being after the Giants and the Dodgers scampered away to the West Coast, became the manager of the Mets, who had probably the worst season in Major League history, their first year of existence.
Yeah.
Okay, 1996, Greg Myers and Paul Molitor each had 5 RBIs as the Minnesota Twins set a team record for runs and routed the Detroit Tigers, 24-11. It was the highest run total against the Tigers in 84 years.
Wow.
So there's a little bit there. Got a couple of more little gems here. Cubs center fielder Rick Monday will go down in baseball history as the man that saved the American flag. And in 1976, which was our bicentennial year, Cubs center fielder Rick Monday rescued the American flag from 2 spectators who tried to set it on fire in the outfield of Dodger Stadium. The confrontation came in the 4th inning of a 5-4 10-inning loss to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So Rick Monday, a true American patriot. And on a odd note, last summer, my wife and I were riding the T to go see the game, and we ran into a woman who was in town to visit a friend of hers who was a coach for the Washington Nationals. Her friend was Davy Lopes.
Get on.
Okay? And ironically, she was Rick Monday's ex-wife.
Oh, get out.
And we were talking, and she and I was like, and I brought up the fact that, her ex-husband, and she just,
Yeah.
amazing, the people that you meet on the way to a ball game.
Who would think on the tee?
Yeah.
Welcome to Pittsburgh. What else do you got?
Okay, Yankees pitcher Russ Van Adem made a spectacular debut by blanking the Washington Senators 16-0 and going 4 for 4. Something you don't see pitchers do.
That's amazing.
And then also, this is what led us into what was considered the steroid era. And on April the 25th, 1995, Major League Baseball returned after a 257-day layoff with the Dodgers beating the Florida Marlins 8-7. And subsequently, to get the fans back in the seats, the owners kind of turned a deaf ear or a deaf eye to the steroid use and allowed steroids to come rampant in baseball. And, so began the steroid era, which hopefully we've got up. Now, next we got the Penguins. We've got the Capitals Thursday night, second round of the playoffs. Well, the Penguins and the Capitals have met 9 times in the playoffs. And the Penguins are 8-1 in their playoff series against the Washington Capitals. And as a matter of fact, in each year that the Penguins have won the Stanley Cup, they have defeated the Washington Capitals in the playoffs. So we win this series, I think we might have another parade downtown this year.
Here's 2. They're going to beat the Capitals.
Here's 2, a parade in June. So here's a quick history of the times that the Caps and the Pens played or should have played in the playoffs this era. 2008, Pittsburgh swept Ottawa in the first round as a second seed. It would have been paired with the third-seeded Caps. Alas, they lost in 7 games to the Flyers, the Capitals, that is. The Pens eventually beat Philly in the conference finals before losing to Detroit in the finals.
Sure.
2009, the Pens and Caps both made it to the second round. Caps didn't make it out of the second round, setting up an epic 7-game series between Ovi and Sid. For the first time ever in the playoffs, Washington took the first 2 games before the Penguins won their first 2 at home. Game 5 went to the Penguins. Washington, when Evgeny lit the lamp in overtime for a 4-3 victory. With a chance to clinch at home in 6 games, the Penguins held a 3-2 lead before 2 Caps goals. Penguins had to win it in 7. So, once again, Caps lose, Penguins win, Pens take the cup. 2010, Washington was again the top seed and again failed miserably in the playoffs, losing to the Canadiens in the first round. 2011, the Caps were the top seed in the East, but lost in the second round to Tampa Bay. Are we seeing
There's a pattern.
You're seeing a recurring theme here. 2012, the Caps were the 7th seed and made it to the second round, but lost to the Rangers in 6 games. In the 2013, the Penguins were the top seed in the East. The Caps were number 3. Washington lost in the first round. The Penguins eventually lost the conference finals to the Bruins, and we painfully remember that one. 2014, the Caps missed the playoffs while the Penguins lost in the second round. 2015, in the second-seeded Caps won in the first round, setting up a potential round 2 with the Penguins. Only the Penguins were the number 8 seed and lost in 5 games to the Rangers.
Yep.
Finally, last season, the Caps and Pens faced each other again in the playoffs. The Caps earning the top seed, and we know how that went, right?
I recall.
And yes, and once again this year, Washington, I think they should put less emphasis on the regular season and more emphasis on the postseason because, doesn't matter where you end up in the regular season. The President's Cup trophy don't get to carry the cup.
No.
So, once again, we're in a position, and I like the Penguins' chances. Marc-Andre Fleury has proven that it was a great decision on Rutherford's part to not part with their goaltender. And Matt Murray's injured. Don't know when he's going to be back. And we've still got a number 1 goaltender who's won a Stanley Cup. So
let's go Pens.
That's it. That's my trivia for this week.
Well, thanks. Chip gave us a lot of good trivia from baseball going back to 1901 and the dead ball era. Appreciate that type of stuff. Oh, I guess it's my turn. On location. Next Monday, we'll be at Hollywood Lanes. I want to announce the Pittsburgh Rebellion that's in the Ladies Football League. They will be there with 2 coaches and 4 players. I don't know what the players will be wearing, but they're usually scantily clad. So we'll see what happens. Joey DeBerry's the head coach, assured me he'll be there.
I'm sure that Jim will be there in his hospital bed if he has.
Well, if Smoking Jim's listening, he already had a couple of the Rebellion players on the Pittsburgh Steel City Sports World. They already one-upped us and were on the show there, and they were pretty cute there, so we'll see what happens. And we got the Obama Academy that won four in a row. They'll be on. And Cornell High School, which just won a championship and lost in the state finals, will be on our show also. So we got a great show there. I got a new place for us on May 8th. Campiti's Pizza. We did a show there in Dormont. Well, they opened a new place January 14th right behind Sheetz and Millennium Shops, 4603. And we'll be doing a show on location on May 8th, 7:30 to 8:30 at Campiti's Pizzeria right in Millennium Shops. So
where's Millennium Shops?
It's where the Sheetz is at, right behind there. There's
on what, 88? Or?
Yeah, 88.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of new businesses there. Fitness places, all kind of other businesses.
I'll tell you a story about that when we're off the air.
All right, can't wait. Can't wait. We'll have to go to a commercial. We're going to go to a commercial right now, and then we're going to come back and talk some Penguins. So don't change that dial. Okay. Welcome back from our commercials. Thank you very much. Devin Shea in the control room's running a straight ship, and we're coming back to talk Penguins playoff hockey.
Yes, sir.
What exciting times for the Penguins. I feel back-to-back. I predicted it at the beginning. We've had, what a rough season with injuries. We set records all the time.
What a rough season with injuries. And then, you thought, that the Penguins losing Chris Letang was going to be the death knell for them. But
yeah,
I was listening to some interviews with Mike Rutherford, and one of the things that he was talking about was, what they're doing with their defensemen now You would always have Letang that would play 30, 32 minutes a game, which is more than 10 minutes more than any other defenseman that they have. But that's what he does. So what they've got all the defensemen now, if you looked at the minutes they played per game against
the Blue Jackets.
Columbus, they all were equal. So, and I think
it was amazing the times, 22 minutes each.
Yes.
That they all were lined up for.
That was great management. So what you're not doing is you're not overtaxing anybody and you're keeping the defensemen fresh. And, Marc-Andre Fleury did go through a little period in games 3 and 4 where he gave up 9 goals in 2 games.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's got to get a little bit sharper there.
He did make some stops where there were no defenders in the way.
There was no question that Marc-Andre Fleury was the difference in the Penguins winning that series. He definitely put the halt to the Columbus Blue Jackets. But here's the thing that you have to worry about is, the Capitals are, they are the team to beat. Now, if you think that Penguins get past the Capitals, it looks like the road's wide open for another cup because
it's scary.
All of the top seeds have gotten knocked off. You had the Chicago Blackhawks who got swept.
Yeah.
The top seed in the West.
Right.
Shocking. Yeah, it was extremely shocking. You had the Montreal Canadiens with Carey Price, who's a quality of a
great
quality
goaltender
that can win you a cup. And then usually, a goaltender can win you a cup. Now, you've got Brandon Holtby now for the Capitals, and he is, I believe, a former Vezina Trophy winner. He can play very, very well, and the Penguins have to play the same way that they played last year. Play fast, play smart. Don't get into the retaliation game.
Sure.
And I think they can.
They got to play a clean game.
Well, I always find this curious when I heard Mike Sullivan would talk about when we play the game the right way.
Sure.
And then you started hearing players saying it. And then when they lost to the Blue Jackets, the first criticism he came out, we did not play that game the right way.
Sure.
And I think he beats that into their heads that that we're not gonna stand there and go toe to toe with somebody.
Sure.
And I'm surprised that we so easily dispatched Columbus. Columbus is a much more physical team.
Oh, definitely.
Now, Washington's got the speed to match us, but there seems to be something about the Capitals. They seem to be snake bit when they play the Penguins.
They got that little choking disease.
A little swelling of the esophagus. Yeah.
They choke up a little bit there, as they say.
Right now, the backup goalie is Jare, who really
had one game.
He is not battle tested.
Yeah.
And Matt Murray has not yet started skating, so whatever kind of lower leg injury that he has, I think it's funny how in some sports, you have to give complete medical, updates. I guess that's because the gamblers
they need it.
They got
Hockey's a little sketchy on that. They have a lower body. The lower body injury.
Upper body. The guy's got a concussion. Why don't you just say he's got a concussion? But
the lower body injury with Murray, he can't skate. So we got a problem there.
Evgeny Malkin came back for the playoff series. He's the top point scorer in the playoffs. He's got 11 points. He's averaging 2 points a game right now.
He's on fire.
And, what happened was they didn't try to rush him back from his injury, got him completely healthy, and he's got some jump in his legs. And
he looks good.
He's playing the way you need Evgeny Malkin to play. And, Sid Crosby, he's
had a great year.
He's just
great playoffs.
He's unbelievable. He has found his game again. And there was a time where Sid was lost, and I thought that maybe, he needed to get out of Pittsburgh to find himself again. But apparently he has found himself. And
they got rid of Bausma. They brought Sullivan in, and that was a good enough change.
Well,
and I think he got healthier because he was hurt with those neck and head injuries. I think they were a lot more substantial.
And they complimented him with a bunch of young players instead of they brought in a bunch of tried and true veterans that really didn't mesh well with Sid. But these young players, they're more adaptable to playing the kind of game that he plays. And, he does set such a great example for these young kids because everybody says he's like Antonio Brown for the Steelers. He's the hardest worker on the ice. And if your superstar is out there working that hard, you can't give any less than that. When you bring in these grizzled old veterans, they're set in their ways. They're not going to, you're not going to teach that old dog.
And these guys have speed. And Crosby's trying to keep up with some of these young guys. No. I even heard an interview just a minute or two that he said he's having some difficulty keeping up speed-wise with them, but he likes it. Well, so, that helps.
It challenges him. He's got to go out there and so all in all, I think the Penguins are poised well. It was funny before Rutherford came in and Ray Shero was still here.
Yeah.
Penguins didn't have any depth at forwards, and it seems like that's not so much the case anymore.
Right.
They can switch lines around. They're going to move Hornquist up to Crosby's line and move Connor Sherry back down. And, I think it's going to make Crosby's line stronger, but the Sherry on Crosby's line was producing points and working well.
The thing Sullivan told Sherry, just keep playing your game. This isn't a detriment to you. Just play your game. It's a fast game. It's a hard-hitting game. He forechecks. He forechecks.
Yeah, so it's
Sherry's great. I like him as a young player. Gets the points. Had a great year.
Yeah. So we've got 4 against the Capitals. It starts tomorrow night down in Landover.
Thursday night.
Today's Tuesday, right?
Yeah. You lost the day. You're out there on those yards too much. We got to bring you back. Let me reel you back in.
This is the product of somebody not having a day off in 7 weeks, okay? They kind of all blend into one another, so it's Tuesday.
I'm here the guy to at least correct you on that.
Hey,
see you Thursday.
Yeah, see you.
Go Penguins.
Go Penguins.
But the Buccos are playing. We got a little Bucco talk for you. Their pitching has been the best, second best in the NL. Their defense is as sketchy as could be. For some reason, they're having trouble fielding balls and putting people in right field. They're rotating them out. Our man Adam Frazier got an injury. I was hoping he could be in each game because he's hitting over 300. He's a great hitter wherever he goes. His defense is a little sketchy at times also.
And I think the Pirates' biggest drawback this year, well, let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Okay, Starling Marte. 80-game suspension, tested positive for steroids. And the steroids he tested positive for wasn't some kind of new designer drug. This is something that's been around since the 50s. He damaged the chances this team has. And Young Ho Gong, with his
DUI,
alcohol-fueled problems, has really hurt the team as well because, we needed major contributions from Gong and Marte this year for the Pirates to be a contender. And Marte, the 2-time Gold Glove outfielder, probably
what an athlete
on the team now. And I mentioned this to Alan, and I've talked to several other people. I don't know what I'm more upset about: the fact that he cheated, or the fact that he got caught cheating. Because, I was sitting there at the game the other night talking with some people in the seats around me, and I said, do you realize that even though we're looking out here on the field, I said, I bet you there's at least 3 or 4 guys that are using performance-enhancing drugs. It's just that they're smart enough. Now, here's how dumb you have to be to get caught. When you go to spring training, you're going to get tested, okay? Anthony Rizzo for the Cubs said, when I came to spring training, I got tested when I got there. I haven't been tested since. So
what's that tell you?
These guys, until Major League Baseball goes to truly random drug testing. Okay,
this is how it is.
This problem. You're going to have this problem. The problem's going to exist, and there's no way that the Players Association is ever going to let that happen. Because that is the strongest union in professional sports.
Yeah, without a doubt.
The NFL Players Association, they're laughable.
They're a paper union, just on paper.
The benefits that they don't give their players. But baseball, they've got guaranteed contracts. They've got,
you name
right
it.
of first refusal. And Marte knew before he went to the World Baseball Classic that he tested positive. Yet, because of the agreement with the Players Association, they don't have to divulge that information to the team. And the Pirates were torpedoed last Monday night when they found out that Marte was
80
suspended
games.
80 games. You know, and it's like...
And if we get to the playoffs, he can't play in the playoffs.
He can't play in the playoffs. So, pretty foolish on his part.
And what an athlete he is. He's one of the best athletes on the team.
But
why do you need that edge?
That being said, you know, you look at, you know, we have this young outfield with Polanco, with Marte, and with McCutchen. And McCutchen's not a young man anymore. He's 30 years old. And he's been playing in the major leagues 8 or 9 years now. And, you know, they are playing like outfield like they've never played the outfield before. Right now, you know, I always thought that the Pirates were a good defensive ball team.
Fundamentals,
sound fundamentals. Not so much this year. The pitching staff, which we thought was going to be the weak link in this team this year, has turned out to be one of the strengths. And our defense is just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Now that we've got McCutchen back in center field, he has a good game or two, makes a couple of plays. Okay, I'm back. I'm Andrew McCutchen. And then he boots some easy fly balls. You know, is that because Polanco doesn't listen when somebody calls him off of a fly ball?
Yes.
You know, when somebody's calling you off a fly ball, you need to get away from them. You can't stand there over their shoulder because instead of looking at the ball, he's looking at you to see if he's going to run into you or not. And that's just basic. They taught me that in Little League. Okay? So,
me too.
You know, you've got him. So you brought up Jose Osuna, who's a good young ball player. I don't know if he's ready for prime time yet.
No.
But, you know, defensively, and, you know, you've got Josh Bell, who is not a stellar defensive first baseman. You've got John Jaso,
they're putting him in right field,
and he's never played right field before.
Last year, he did a good job at first base. That was the first year he played first base. Leave him at first base. He's come in as a defensive first baseman, and I like him.
You know, and last year they had Sean Rodriguez come in and spell him as a defensive replacement for first base. So, you know, and this is one of the things that I found kind of interesting in regards to the Pirates this year. As I was looking on the internet, and I was thinking the 5 managers that they feel are most likely to get fired in the 2017 season, and they had Clint Hurdle as number 3. Now, I loved Clint Hurdle as the manager of the Pirates. I think he brought in a brand new attitude and helped to build a team that was a perennial winner. Now, it seems like his message is lost because, you know, I'm seeing a disjointed team. I'm not seeing, you know, the consistency.
It's not as cohesive as it's seen before.
The discipline. I mean, you know, the defense is just, it's terrible. I mean, Josh Harrison making errors at second base, a couple of them a game. Cervelli making errors behind the plate. You've got players misplaying balls in the outfield. You've got McCutchen.
Sure.
You've got Polanco. I mean, these are guys that you are counting on to be, you know, quality players, and they look like they've never played the outfield before. Now, was this a product of them playing in the World Baseball Classic? Maybe they shouldn't have been allowed to go play. I mean, they're under contract.
I'm starting to think that that was a problem.
Because, you know, here's 3 guys that have never played the positions that they're in right now. All 3 of them are playing a new position, and they needed to play 30 games or so together to get to know one another, how to position themselves.
And just the reaction to different balls that are hit and where.
Right. And
we both know that.
I think it's hurt the team. Now, the biggest surprise of the year is Ivan Nova. You know, he's the one we didn't let get away.
Yeah.
And, you know, he has been unbelievable this year.
Pitching-wise, it's just unbelievable. He's over the plate. He rarely gets 3 balls on a hitter. He gets the first 2 strikes on a hitter.
Nova has been stellar, and Jameson Taillon has been stellar. I mean, this kid's unbelievable. He doesn't have the wins to back it up. But, I mean, his ERA is as low as you can get it to go. Yeah. And Garrett Cole's pitching tonight. By the way, middle of the second inning, the Pirates are losing to the Cubs 1-0. Garrett Cole's pitching tonight. Now, he's got a career record of, I believe, 9-3 against the Cubs. So he's pitched well against them. But, you know, I expected Garrett Cole to be, you know, a Cy Young candidate this year as he was 2 years ago. Last year, you know, he was injured. He started off the year injured.
Yeah, and he stayed that way.
He tried to do too much. too soon and the nagging injuries, and finally he had to be shut down. You know, and I don't see the dominant ace that you are expecting to see out of Garrett Cole.
And what's interesting with Tyon, he missed 2 years of baseball.
Tommy John.
Yeah, and just actually what he observed, he's more of a pitcher.
Well, you know,
and he's young.
The interesting thing is when, you know, these players, they go, you know, usually it's a flaw in their mechanics that caused them to have Tommy John surgery in the first place.
Right.
And once they get the surgery done, then what they do is they completely tear the house down from the foundation, and they rebuild it from the ground up.
Sure.
And that's what generally after a player has gone through Tommy John surgery, then he learns the proper mechanics, using your legs, the core of your body, not putting so much pressure on your elbow when you're throwing the ball.
And most of it comes from you need the strong legs.
Yes.
And that's where we've both pitched. Your legs, your hips, you know.
I mean, you know, the pitchers, they're two of the greatest pitchers of all time that were proof that, you know, the legs and the core. Well,
Tom Seaver.
Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
You know, those guys drove. Tom Seaver, when he was on his game, you know that his one knee would be dirty.
Sure.
Because he would push off on that rubber. And that, you know.
He followed through.
He'd follow through. When he didn't have dirt on his knee, he wasn't on his game.
No, and it makes a huge difference with the pitchers. It's the follow through.
Yeah.
And pitching's one of the most unnatural things. They now have different exercise and therapy for them and weightlifting and do all these things right here at Cool Springs. They mentioned how they do stuff to help get your fastball into the 90s in high school. So,
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of great things that are out there. But to see Tyon where he's at compared to Cole where he's at, makes a big difference. It's pitching.
And, you know,
and Tyon doesn't show any emotion.
And I think part of Garrett Cole's problem is that, you know, just like, you know, you don't worry about your last pitch, okay? You don't worry about the call that you didn't get. What your focus should be is on your next pitch.
Yeah.
You know,
and he gets upset about it.
The umpires, they're terrible, okay? I mean, and you know what? I don't believe that you should take them out of the game. The game's played by human beings. Human beings are flawed. The game should be, you know, umpired by human beings, and they're flawed. And that's part of the game.
But here's the thing. With the umpires, they've been doing it for years. Some have a higher strike zone. Some have a lower strike zone. Some are questionable on the corners. You know that going in. So if you're trying to hit the spots where they call strikes, doesn't that make sense?
Well, you know, and I mean, when we were taught and we were kids, we were said from the letters to your knees, that was a strike zone. And then you had Pete Rose, who squatted down and shrunk his strike zone, you know, so, you know, which was one of the things that was a big deal at that time, you know. So, you know, then, you know, the
variance is there with it.
You know, but you know, you look at I go to games and I sit up in the upper seats, and you know you could tell what's a strike and what's a not, and you look at things, and then I'll watch games where you know I'll be at home and I'll watch from behind the pitcher, and you just sit there and it's like, how do you not? You know, the umpire will
some
call
of them it gets
pitch, a strike 3 times in a row, and then you throw the exact same pitch in the exact same spot. He calls it a ball.
And I just see that the other night with the rectangle that they put up with the strike zone, and you're like, oh, he might have missed that one. Oh, he might have missed this one. And there's some consistency in it that guys do have a higher strike zone and a lower strike zone, and then you always hear them painting the black. Well, some of these pitchers are painting the black. Give them a strike.
Greg Maddux, who is in the Hall of Fame, and if you would have walked across him in the street, you would have never guessed he was one of the greatest pitchers in Major League history. He made his career not throwing a fastball over 90 miles an hour ever, and he painted the black, which is the
black strip around home plate, half an inch.
Home plate, and he just he adjusted speeds. He brought it in,
angles,
up, downs, spin, whatever, and he had hitters guessing constantly. So you don't have to throw the ball 98 miles an hour to get batters out.
No, and it's their sight, high, low, where you're consistent at, bringing them in, up, down, moving it.
I saw the one game.
If there's a movement on the ball.
I saw one game with R.A. Dickey, the knuckleball pitcher for the Braves, okay? And this guy's in his 40 years, he's throwing pitches 69 miles an hour, and guys are flailing at them like a rusty gate, you know. So you don't have to throw the ball 100 miles an hour.
There's so many ways to play the game and do it successfully.
Yeah, there is.
Our pitching has been successful, and that's about it.
You know, the fact that we're only 8-11, okay. You know, the Pirates are totally not out of this. They're only a 3 games out of first place. They need to start playing better defense, and
it's the fundamentals.
They need to start.
It's the fundamentals of the game. If they play fundamentals, hitting and fielding,
and they don't have to hit home runs to win baseball games. But here's what you got to do: you go and you got guys in scoring position. You've got to advance the runners. You've got to hit to the opposite
play
field.
Small ball.
This shift, they put 3 infielders on the right side of the second base, and you've got the third baseman playing 30 feet off of the third baseline, and you've got a guy that hits into the shift every time. Whatever happened to slapping the ball into left field? I'll tell you who's great for doing that. Adam Frazier.
Yeah,
he uses the whole field when he hits.
He does. And, for a lefty, he does.
And I mean, and that's called bat control. That's called plate discipline.
He got a great hand-eye coordination. You can tell that.
I mean, and now granted, they're going to pitch you so that you try to pull the ball into the shift, but you just swing. You change your swing.
Hold up on your swing a little.
You swing inside out, and then you push the ball over in the left field.
There's little things.
Bunt.
Yeah,
they could get a double out of it.
Push the bunt. Definitely. And again, it goes to the coaching. Maybe the World Baseball Classic took away from the coaching that they could have done or should have done.
They replaced the infield coach. They replaced the outfield coach from last year. So they've got new coaches in, and they didn't really get any time to work with their players. So I hope that this is something that they work themselves.
Well, I'm sure they're working on this stuff now because
I guarantee you they are.
Yeah.
Because we don't see what goes on at the ballpark.
Right.
They open up the gates at 5:30. We don't see what goes on there in the afternoon, and I guarantee you they're out there working them. So.
Oh, I would bet too, because they do want to win. So I mean, that would be part of it.
Well, so now we've touched on the Penguins, we've touched on the Pirates, and we've got.
Wait, draft day's coming up.
We've got the 3 busiest days for my dear friend Jim. And Jim Frazier is the hardest working man for 3 days of the year out of anybody I know. He only works 3 days a year. But,
so he says. I question
362 days of rest, gets him ready for it. But Jim is
Get well
working
soon.
with the Steelers. He'll be down in the war room. Unfortunately, he's not here for us to pick our brains tonight. And I got a couple of mock drafts here in front of me.
What do you got?
By a couple of Pittsburgh sports writers, and looking at what potentially could be available for the Steelers at the 30th pick.
What are you looking at?
What we're looking at a linebacker, outside linebacker from UCLA. His name's Tack McKinley, as a potential, and also Tre'Davious White as a cornerback out of LSU. Both are needs that the Steelers have.
No question there.
There was also some talk, and I know Jim likes this gentleman, Jabril Peppers from Michigan.
Didn't he get a drug violation or something? Explain that.
Well,
we talked about it. Might as well bring it up.
He failed a drug test because he had a diluted sample, okay? And he's trying to say, well, that's because I was sick and I was drinking a lot of water, and that's a bunch of baloney, if you ask me. A diluted sample means that something, was missing from your sample that should have been there had it been a clean sample.
It may have been masking what was in his
I don't want to accuse him of anything, but here's what the Steelers have learned. Martavius Bryant today is cleared to come back to the Steelers, okay? So we lost him for a year, okay, after 6 failed drug tests. How many times have we lost Le'Veon Bell due to drug-related instances?
Couple times.
So do we really want to draft somebody who's got that kind of baggage that, he's already tested positive once, so he's already one strike into it. Right. How many more,
what else
missteps are we going to... We've taken some chances on some other players, and we've ended up with egg on our face. And I think the Steelers really and seriously could have been a serious Super Bowl contender last year had they had Martavius Bryant as in their wide receiving core. Without him there... Antonio Brown is Antonio Brown. He's the best receiver in football. But when you got somebody like Martavius Bryant that can stretch the field, now all of a sudden Antonio Brown's a much more effective weapon.
I think there's no argument from me on that. I agree, definitely.
Hopefully Martavius learned his lesson and can straighten out his life. The Steelers still have him for 2 more years. Steelers picked up the 5th-year option for Ryan Shazier.
Yeah.
They didn't do that for Mr. Jarvis Jones.
Too slow,
Jarvis Jones. But he'll be over in Arizona, and they're going to try to resurrect his career. But I don't even think the genius in Arizona can bring that one back from the dead.
It's a speed issue. I mean, he reacts to the ball until he closes. Is a big difference than what he had to do in the SEC. He was a big-time player in the SEC, but he doesn't have the speed to close that gap.
He doesn't have the instinct. Some players are always there at the point of attack, okay? And then there's players that are chasing the ball carrier.
They're a step behind.
And Jarvis Jones was always chasing the ball carrier. So, we've got, we know we need an outside linebacker. We know we need cornerback help. Okay, so there's a lot of needs, and the Steelers got a lot of draft picks, and this is supposed to be an extremely deep draft. One of the things that I would like to see the Steelers try to go for, maybe in 3rd or 4th round, is James Conner out of Pitt.
Yeah,
I think he would be a great addition to help supplement Le'Veon Bell.
He's not just a cancer survivor. He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
And he's a great ball player.
And
that's the key. He can catch. And he can run.
He works out like a demon. And, you need somebody to take some of the pressure off of Le'Veon Bell, because Le'Veon Bell hasn't made it through a season yet. Okay, and you take into account his suspensions, and then he's still not making it through the season healthy. Could you imagine if we had to count on him for 16 games? Last year it was just 12.
No, I cannot.
Yes, we couldn't count on him for 12. I mean, we finally get down to the last game, and,
well, they did run. They did run the wheels off the bus.
Well, do you blame them? What do you think Mike Tomlin said with Willie Parker? He says, "I'm going to run the wheels on that until the wheels fall off."
Exactly, but you can only handle so many of those runs. Look at those cut moves and things that he's making.
Yes,
and
exactly.
They got injuries anyhow because they're getting hit on every play.
So I expect the Steelers to probably in the 4th or 5th round try to go after another wide receiver. They seem to have a lot of success picking up wide receivers
they do.
Late in the rounds. But they do need to bolster their defense.
It would help.
They need a pass rusher. Ryan Shazier has proven to be a monster. They lost Lawrence Timmons in the middle.
Yeah.
Is Vince Williams the answer? He had a couple of nice games last year. Lawrence Timmons played very good football for us.
He did.
Going through the end of the season last year. And, I don't know what the reason why he decided to go to Miami.
Money.
After spending
he made the money.
There had to be something there. I don't think Tomlin was exactly pleased with him, because
that was his guy.
That was Tomlin's first round draft pick. So, there's...
Maybe there was, but I think it just boils down to money.
Well, it always does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does in this day and age.
Yeah,
we can talk team loyalty. We can talk about.
Well, there is no team loyalty. There's no loyalty between the team and the players and the team. The players want to get as much money as they can. They'll go play anywhere. It used to be a time where a player wanted to play with a certain organization because you gave him a chance to win a title. Might
accept a little less, yeah.
But I mean, you know what? At the end of the day, when these guys are in their
Speaking
walkers,
of that, D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah.
What's the story with him?
What's the story with him? And he's still available. And I wouldn't.
He come here to win a Super Bowl.
Well, you know what? He may be back, and I would have no problem taking him back. At a team-friendly, contract. The Steelers have some money.
He still can run.
The Steelers have some money to work with, and they wouldn't expect. I would expect them. I think they're going to try to extend Stephen Tuitt, and I think they're going to try to extend Alejandro Villanueva. I think those are two pieces that they should should lock up. Tuitt has proven his worth, and Villanueva, he's just a good story.
It's a great story, and then for him to be improving as a tackle.
Well,
a tackle's not an easy position there.
And here's the thing about Alejandro Villanueva is when a tackle's doing his job, you don't notice him. And the fact that you got a guy that's almost 6'10" and you don't notice he's on the field, that's a really good sign. I don't mean that in a negative way.
Well, because the way he's improved since he got here. That makes a difference to me.
Well, yeah, and he's not getting beat constantly.
Right.
And
he goes against some great defensive ends.
Oh, he goes against the best.
Yeah.
He goes against the best. So, now, will the Steelers go for quarterback in this draft?
I heard Colbert come out and said he thinks Roethlisberger will be here for years.
Well, you know what?
He just said that the other day.
And do we really know? He's been this way since he's a rookie. And it was, 13 years ago yesterday that the Steelers drafted him. Ben's a drama queen. He's going to milk that for all he's worth. But
you didn't waste any time on throwing that out there. I was going to ask you, do you still think he's a drama queen?
Oh, absolutely, he's a drama queen. And here's the thing, do you want him to put him? The Steelers want to allow themselves to be put in a position where he could hold them hostage, because without a quarterback in this league, you are going nowhere. Take a look at Cleveland. Okay?
Yeah.
1999, they haven't had a quarterback, and they are the absolute laughingstock. Now, I can't wait to see how badly they screw up the draft this year. Now, the first pick,
who are they going to pick?
The first pick is
what's their pick?
What's his name? Myles Garrett, defensive end, can't miss prospect out of Texas A&M. Everybody says that the Browns should take him first. I wouldn't surprise me a bit if they took Deshaun Watson instead of Myles Garrett, and it would
I was going to ask about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and I think it would
he doesn't want to be there, but he may be there.
No, you don't have much say so. You don't have the kind of pull the Mannings had. How Peyton didn't want to go one place and Eli didn't want to go somewhere else. So
very true.
He doesn't have.
He doesn't have that juice.
Yeah, he got a national title though. Neither of the Mannings did, right?
Let me think about that. Great point.
No, as a matter of fact, the team that Peyton should have won a national title with, T. Martin won the national title the next year, and he became a Steelers backup quarterback and couldn't get on the field.
Great point. Different type of quarterback, though.
Yeah, well, you know what? He knew how to win.
Yeah, definitely.
Peyton knew how to make money. So I guess if you got one or the other,
Oh, he won some games too, so
yeah, he did.
Just not the biggest one.
Yeah, he did.
Those things happen. Well, we're winding down on the show, a minute and a half to go. Did a pretty good job without Smoking Jim Frazier. By the way, I hope Smoking Jim, you get better. They find out whatever ails you. They fix you up, get you back in the game here. I know you like watching our shows, so hopefully you'll give us a shout out when you see this show. Hope you're better. Don't know what hospital you're in. That's a mystery here. But he's from Monroeville, so I don't know what hospitals are in Monroeville.
I don't know where he is, but I sent him out a text and he responded back. Thanks, buddy. I told him, hey,
how did you?
I hope you get better soon, and we're gonna miss you tonight. And I do sincerely mean that. I was really looking forward to picking Jim's brain. Regarding
he did this on purpose.
The draft. Well, you know what? He's got to save up his energy because.
3 days.
There's a lot of food he's going to be eating those 3 days.
Oh, he's looking for over easy on the eggs with the steak.
Yeah, he is.
That's what he told me.
Yeah,
and the chef that was there is gone or died or something, so he has to try to find a new chef.
He's probably got a new protege or something.
Oh, I don't know. He's going to have to find out, but we'll have to see. Hope you like the show and some of our sports talk. Thanks for watching our show. We're on every Tuesday through Saturday night, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and on Mondays and Sundays at times too. So we appreciate the feedback. We're over 6,400 likes. We've been holding steady. And I just want to thank you again for watching us tonight. And I always end the show with stay Joey strong.